Firstly, let me address a few questions about the arm from my first post. The arm looks like a man's arm. No sleeves or tattoos of any sort, though I can see that it has darkish hair on the forearm. I did notice one thing that seemed odd though. It was missing a fingernail on its pinky finger. Come on guys, it's almost 2020. I've already tried to take a picture of the arm. I mean, how could I not? It's a random arm reaching out from under a shelving unit. Well, I've got some bad news for anyone wanting to see the arm. It doesn't photograph well, as in, not at all. Whenever I try to use my camera on my phone, nothing ever shows up. I tried to film it once, snatching something like it did the spray can. Son of a bitch just ignored it. That was until I stopped filming, then it grabbed it. That really had me worried when it did that, because that means that whatever the arm is attached to can think. I told Mike about not being able to film the arm and he wasn't surprised. He told me it doesn't show up on our security cameras either. He said he tried to let the day shift know about it once, and of course they don't believe him because there was nothing on the cameras. I kept asking Mike about the arm and he finally told me that yes, it did grab someone once. When I tried to get him to spill the beans on what had happened, he just told me to make sure it doesn't grab me. After that, he wouldn't say anything more about it and told me to stop asking. I could tell that talking about it was really upsetting him, so I'm just going to leave it alone for a while. So I hope that helped with some of your questions. I'll try to answer them when I can. With working 10-hour shifts, I tend to do only two things: work and sleep. Because of my hours, I was curious about how much I'm walking now at work, so I downloaded a step counter on my phone, and I can say I was a bit shocked to see I'm walking about 1,200 steps a day. No wonder my feet always hurt. I know no one is here to listen about my steps in for the day. You guys want more stories, and I already hinted at 2 in my last post, so I'll start with the thing that lives in the garden centre. As anyone that has ever seen a Lowe store knows that they all have a garden centre where they keep their mulch, stones, and pretty much anything you might need plants or garden-wise. Right now it's filled with Christmas trees, big and small, as well as other Christmas-related plants. During the day it's a pretty nice place and feels really Christmassy. At night though, when the lights are off, it can feel a bit spooky. No one in receiving likes to stock the garden centre, so we take turns. Now the question arises, why don't we like to stock the garden centre? You can look back to the aforementioned thing that lives in the garden centre. Someone from my last post suggested that it might be a garden gnome, and in all honesty it might be. None of us has ever seen it, and from what Mike has told me, no one ever has. So how do we know it's there? Easy. We hear it and feel it. We can hear it because the damn thing is always moving around. We can hear it scampering on the roof, on top of the racks, and in the ceiling scaffoldings. We can hear its feet slap the concrete as it runs through the aisles, always just out of view. Or you see its movement just out of the corner of your eye. That's not even the worst part of it. The damn thing is always laughing when you walk into the garden centre. And I don't mean like a full belly laugh or an evil maniacal laugh, but it's more like a snicker or a hushed giggle. You know the type where you know a joke or just something funny about someone, but you want to try to keep it quiet. Yeah, that kind of laugh. It starts up as soon as you walk through the doors and doesn't stop until you leave, and wherever you go, its laughter is always behind you or beside you. Sometimes it sounds like whatever it is right behind you, close enough that you should be able to feel its breath. But when you turn around, there's never anything there. Other times it sounds like it's coming from the other side of the garden centre, and it's those times you have to look out for. Why, you ask? Is it so far away? Yes, it is, but that's when it starts to chuck shit at you. Yeah, the little fucker likes to throw rocks or rubber parts, and whatever it can get its hands on, and lobs it at you. Luckily though, it has a pretty bad aim, but if it does hit you, then it really starts to giggle. Telling it to stop doesn't help either. It's like when a kid tries to tell a bully to stop picking on him. All it does is make the bully double down, and that's pretty much what happens with the thing in the garden centre. The best we can do is to ignore it, but still, the damn thing is unsettling as hell. The second thing I hinted at was the naked little man. Now this motherfucker pisses me off to no end. As I'm thinking about it, maybe this is what the person said might be a garden gnome, but I really don't think so. First off, it's completely hairless, and by that I mean a bowling ball has more hair than this thing. I've only really seen it a few times fully. Most of the time I see its little fat ass running around the end of the aisle or scampering over the top of one. It can move pretty damn fast. I'll try to explain it so you can get a better understanding of it. The thing is only about a foot, maybe a foot and a half in height, completely hairless like I said before, fat and squat looking. Imagine a nude, hairless Danny DeVito without genitals, and you would be spot on. Yeah, I said without genitals. Thank God for the small favours. The only reason I call it a man is because it has absolutely zero traits of a woman. We actually started calling it Danny once I pointed out the resemblance. Anyway, this little bastard is more of a nuisance than anything else. It likes to make messes, knock stuff off at the top of the racks, and steal your shit, that kind of stuff. It always makes your night a living hell because of all of the extra work it forces us to do. Recently, while we were all taking our lunch break, we heard a lot of banging and a lot of stuff falling. We all ran to where we could hear it coming from. If you've ever been to Lowe's around Christmas, you know that we display those tacky-ass blow-up lawn ornaments on the top of the racks, close to the entrance. Well, that little fucker knocked one off. And wait, there's more. See, we don't just sit them up there, we tie those things down so they can't fall on the customers. But this little fucker had untied them all, then tied them together, so when he pushed one off, they all went. Let it be said we were all quite pissed that night. Danny only comes out about 2 to 3 times a month, but I've lost about 5 box cutters to him. We have no idea where he came from or where he goes. He's not like the thing in the garden centre though. He doesn't laugh or giggle or even throw stuff. Danny is pretty quiet, except when it runs or climbs. His bare feet slap the concrete and he always sounds out of breath, but only when he's on the move. Once he stops, he goes dead quiet. One time the little bastard swiped my box cutter and took off. Luckily I had just come out of the aisle to see him grab it. I took off after him, swearing if I caught him I was going to punt him like a fat bald football. As I ran around the corner I had to stop fast. That pudgy bastard had set me up. Danny had dropped my cutter, but this aisle had the arm in it, and it was stretched out disturbingly. So as it was trying to grab my cutter, which was literally right next to its fingertips, if I hadn't come to a stop when I did, I would have been grabbed. I looked up to see Danny looking down at me from the top of the rack. Oh yeah, I cussed him out, but all he did was watch me with those beady little eyes of his until he ducked away, and I heard him scamper off. I don't know if Danny was trying to hurt me or not, but I'm putting a chain on my box cutter from now on, and I don't think I'll be chasing him anymore. That's all I have time for tonight. I have more stories, but if you're still interested, let me know and maybe I'll tell you about the man that watches the store, or the fact that I think the store itself doesn't like me.